When push comes to shove, it turns out that paper is not too strong. And turns out neither is Doug Ford, cause hail and welcome to today, where in the new Canada, I'd say new Canada cause Trudeau is resigned, supposedly, we have a couple things doing a turnaround with how things were going. Most namely, we got Doug Ford. Because previously, Doug Ford was putting up a whole bill act against Trump's tariffs, talking about how he was going to cut off all of America's energy supply from Ontario and how that was going to cause a lot of problems and how the tariffs are unreasonable and yada yada yada. He was more or less going off of what Trudeau also wanted, which was the whole entire if you tariff us, we'll tariff you kind of stupid back and forth going on there. But let us go into how he was previously taking this whole entire thing. The Premier of Canada's most populous province said Tuesday President-elect Donald Trump's plan to impose sweeping 25% tariffs on all Canadian products would be a disaster that would hurt U.S. stock markets. Ontario Premier Doug Ford also said in an interview with the Associated Press that he is extremely worried about Trump's plan to launch a mass deportation of millions of undocumented people. Ford said he has a plan to send...
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f*** is that?
Ford said he has a plan send hundreds of police officers to the border if they come north. First of all, how is CBC a big media company? How are they making typos like this? Ford said he has a plan send hundred. Like, bro, come on. You have how much money and you're unable to spell check yourself? Really? Now, there's a little bit more to this, but I really want to go back to the bottom because it gets to more to the ins and outs of what I really want to talk about here with Doug. And it starts off saying Ford repeats threat to cut off electricity to the U.S. Ford reiterated he would restrict electricity exports to Michigan, New York, and Minnesota if the sweeping tariffs are imposed. I want to sell them more energy, more critical minerals, but I'm going to always keep every tool in our box available, Ford said. That is the last thing I want to do. We have the energy, they need the energy. So, in other words, Doug Ford was put up in a whole entire charade about how he was gonna stand against Trump. He was gonna put our people at the border just in case he tried to come north to us to get rid of the undocumented people. What a tragic thing that would be. And he was just continuing to putting up a whole entire nothing burger of a argument against his tariffs. And so he was so angry at Trump's tariffs, and he was like, how dare you want us to deal with our undocumented people and problematic things being brought into Canada and out of Canada and so on and so forth. How dare you do that? Until recently, that tune seemed to have changed about 5 hours ago. If you will notice, we've got a new whole entire lineup of articles that have been posted on X. Let's take a look at how many there are. Oh, there's a lot. Oh wow, look at that. We got something about strengthening our borders. Oh, look at that. Captain Canada. Wow, that's a great top liner for this whole entire thing. Point being, we have a new Operation Deterrence going on over here in Ontario. It's crazy how the dude who is putting up such an affront to Trump's 25% tariff, he's all of a sudden now crumpling like paper mache to his demands. Doing real good there, Doug. Real good. Now, as if the little bit of the picture and the Operation Deterrence title wasn't good enough, Yeah, let's dive into what this whole entire thing is about in a Toronto Sun article. In a news release, Premier Doug Ford says Operation Deterrence will crack down on border crossings. It comes as US President-elect Donald Trump threatens to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian goods unless Canada tightens border security, with an emphasis on stuff that I can't say. As part of the operation, Ontario says provincial police have an emergency response team of 200 officers focusing on boosting border security. The province says the operation, which it describes as a preparedness and planning framework, will target activities outside the 14 official border crossings staffed by federal border agents. So, in other terms, they've always been able to secure the border, but for some reason they just didn't. Until all of a sudden, someone came here, dropped trow, and said, "You will do it or I'm gonna cause you a problem." When push comes to shove, it turns out that paper is not too strong. And turns out neither is Doug Ford, cause his whole entire spiel he went on about how, oh, we're gonna stand against the tariffs, it's now crumbling. Which is odd because after the meeting that Trudeau had with Trump, all of a sudden Freeland drops out, now Trudeau is dropping out, and now Doug Ford is for some reason going along with what Trump wanted all along. So it is almost as if they were just putting up an affront for no reason other than to, I'm gonna be honest, I had a word in my brain, but it went away. The point is, they're trying to seem all special, all that in a bag of chips, and they're not. They're not. They just aren't, because once again, when push comes to shove, they crumple like a paper boat, and they sink or they swim. And it turns out that Doug is trying to swim here because he's going with what Trump is saying, because he doesn't want to deal with the tariffs. Now, the next bit of order is have all the provinces follow suit with this, which I think they will, because if they don't follow suit, then the 25% tariff will still happen. But if we're able to convince them to follow along, then that won't happen, and that'll be good for everyone, which will be very nice, because then we won't have a bunch of problems going on in about Canada that are undocumented. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I think that is all I had to say for today, and how paper mache is still weak, and so I hope that you have a good one.